city of Noxus spread out like a neon dream, its skyline pierced by towering skyscrapers adorned with glowing holographic advertisements. Its streets buzzed with life, a chaotic tapestry of futuristic sounds and lights. Through this vibrant scene, a lone figure dashed. Lena. Her breaths were quick, her every step filled with urgency as she glanced over her shoulder. Agents dressed in sleek black tactical gear closed in behind her, their pursuit relentless. Desperation guided Lena as she turned sharply into a narrow alley. In an instant, everything froze, the world around her suspended in time. People, vehicles, the vibrant glow of lights, all rendered motionless. A stark contrast to Lena, who moved freely within this frozen moment. She raised her hands, faintly glowing with an eerie brilliance, her control over time evident. The frozen world began to shift, unraveling and resetting itself. The vibrant hum of the city resumed and the agents continued their relentless chase, unaware of the loop they had just entered. Lena's thoughts echoed in the stillness of her mind. It's happening again. Every time I try to escape, the past catches up with me. I can't control it, but I can reset it. Just a moment, I have to keep moving. The dimly lit apartment seemed to echo Lena's solitude, every corner cluttered with remnants of old tech and fragmented machinery. In the heart of this chaos, Lena sat motionless, her gaze fixed on the ancient artifact in her hands. The glow from the object bathed her face in a soft, otherworldly light, its mystical runes faintly illuminated as if whispering secrets only she could hear. Suddenly, the artifact pulsed, its energy radiating in waves of blue and purple, casting dancing shadows across the room. The air grew heavy as time itself seemed to falter. Lena's movements left behind ghostly afterimages, brief glimpses of the past and future intertwining in an unsettling display. The space around her rippled, as though reality was bending to the will of the artifact. In that charged moment, her thoughts swirled, unspoken but vivid. Where did this come from? Why does it feel so familiar? Every time I touch it, I see flashes of another life, another time. This power, it's tied to me somehow, but I can't remember. On the outskirts of Noxus, the hangar stood like a relic of another age, its rusted metal glinting faintly under the dim yellow lights. Inside, Kai worked with practiced precision on his mech, a towering machine of sleek armor and glowing blue, lines that pulsed with latent energy. The stillness of his work was interrupted by a distant rumbling. The air around the city rippled unnaturally, a time anomaly forming. Kai's instincts flared as he abandoned his tools, climbing swiftly into the mech. The cockpit came alive, its HUD bathing his determined face in a cold, blue glow. The mech rose to its full height, an imposing figure against the backdrop of the distorted skyline. Without hesitation, Kai steered the machine toward the heart of the disturbance. As he approached, his gaze locked onto the center of the rift. Suspended within a raging temporal storm was a figure, a girl. Her presence was at once unfamiliar and deeply compelling. Something about her felt different, inexplicably significant. Kai's thoughts echoed in the charged silence. Another anomaly. I've seen this before, but it's stronger this time. There's something different about it and about her, and who is she? Lena hovered in the epicenter of the temporal disturbance, her figure suspended in a surreal space where time rippled and fragmented around her. The distortion painted the air with shimmering waves, bending reality itself in chaotic patterns. Standing at the edge of the anomaly was Kai, his mech towering behind him, a beacon of calm readiness amidst the storm. His gaze met Lena's, his demeanor steady and assured, while hers betrayed uncertainty. With a deliberate motion, Kai activated the mech's temporal stabilizers. Energy surged forth, creating fields that wrapped around the rift. Slowly, the chaos began to settle. Ripples smoothed into stillness, the anomaly dissipating until time returned to its natural state. As the world regained its balance, Lena's thoughts swirled in the quiet aftermath. He's not an enemy, but he knows something. This power I have, it's not the only one. I have to trust him for now. Kai's voice cut through the silence, calm yet resolute. You're not the only one with a connection to these time anomalies. And you're not alone in this fight, but we need to figure out who's pulling the strings. Deep beneath the surface, the hidden base of the time shifters exuded an unsettling sterility. Its cold metallic walls reflected the dim light of countless screens, each displaying streams of data on time anomalies and the glowing essence of Lena's magical energy. In the center of this technological labyrinth stood Raya Volkov, her presence as commanding as the silence that surrounded her. Her eyes were fixed on the largest screen, where Lena's energy patterns danced like a living, breathing entity. The faint glow of the data illuminated her sharp features, her expression icy and calculating. The room seemed to hum with restrained power as Raya's thoughts unraveled, each calculated and laced with intent. The rift grows stronger by the day. It's her, Lena Voss. She doesn't even realize the power she holds. If I can control her, the future will be ours to rewrite. The sterile hum of the high-tech laboratory filled the air, a stark contrast to the chaos that had once defined it. Machinery designed for time travel loomed ominously, their intricate designs pulsating with dim, flickering lights. In the heart of it all was Lena, years younger, restrained by futuristic devices that wrapped around her small frame like cold, mechanical vines. Standing over her was Dr. Zane, his expression devoid of warmth as his sharp eyes analyzed the situation. The machines crackled with instability, sparks flying as the experiment spiraled into uncontrolled chaos. Fragments of memories flooded Lena's mind, visions of failed experiments, surges of energy coursing through her, and the unnerving sensation of her consciousness splitting. In fleeting moments, she felt herself collide with other versions of herself, each tied to different timelines. The weight of her past pressed down on her, her thoughts a swirl of fragmented clarity. This place, this was my past. The experiment, the failure. I was part of something bigger than I could have understood, and now it's all coming back. I can feel it. I was never meant to be part of this. The flashback faded, leaving behind the heavy echoes of a haunting truth. The high-rise stood like a sentinel against the neon-lit skyline of Noxus, its cold steel exterior reflecting the distorted hues of the city below. Atop its imposing structure, Lena and Kai stood on edge, their resolve tested under the oppressive glare of the figure before them. Raya Volkov stood with unyielding confidence, her calculating gaze piercing through the silence. Her team of elite soldiers flanked her, their presence a stark reminder of the force she commanded. As the tension thickened, Raya's voice cut through the night, sharp and deliberate. We're not so different, Lena. You were always meant to. Be mine, your power, our bond, it's the key to rewriting everything. Join me and together we can control time itself. The words struck Lena like a thunderclap. Her expression twisted from wary confusion to utter shock. The revelation echoed in her mind, loud and undeniable. Raya was her sister, from a parallel timeline. Lena's voice trembled, barely rising above the weight of the moment. What are you saying? My sister? The world seemed to hold its breath as the pieces began to fall into place, their fates now more entwined than Lena could have ever imagined. Lena stood at the very heart of the rift, her figure illuminated by the radiant energy swirling around her. Time itself bent and warped, the fabric of reality tearing and folding in chaotic patterns. The glow surrounding her pulsed with an almost sentient rhythm, as if it too understood the stakes of this moment. Her face reflected a storm of emotions, fear, sorrow, and a fragile hope. Every fiber of her being was locked in a silent war, torn between embracing the immense power coursing through her or destroying it entirely. The decision crystallized within her, clear and unyielding. With trembling hands, Lena reached out, her essence merging with the volatile energy of the rift. The room was flooded with an overwhelming light, consuming her completely. Reality twisted as the rift began to stabilize, the chaos subsiding into an almost serene stillness. Lena's voice echoed softly, carried on the currents of this newly mended timeline. This is the only way. To stop it. To stop everything from collapsing. I have to sacrifice myself. The light dimmed, and with it, Lena's presence faded, leaving behind a world forever changed by her choice. The city of Noxus lay cloaked in an unusual stillness, its skyline serene yet subtly altered. A strange, unspoken aura permeated the air, as if the very fabric of reality had been rewritten. Though the rift was finally sealed, the world felt unfamiliar, like a reflection distorted just enough to unsettle. In the midst of this quiet transformation, Kai stood alone in the barren streets. The neon glow of the city cast long shadows around him, amplifying his solitude. His gaze lingered on the horizon, searching for answers in the vast, endless sky. The weight of the moment pressed down on him as his thoughts surfaced, unbidden, yet resolute. She did it. But where did she go? The rift is closed, but everything's different now, and I don't know if I'll ever see her again. The frame lingered on him, a lone figure against the altered backdrop of Noxus, as the story left its final question suspended in the air, waiting to be answered. Midnight blanketed Noxus in an eerie glow as the rooftops of the city flickered unnaturally under the fractured remnants of time. The skyline stood on the precipice of shattering, its distorted, unstable lights casting shadows that seemed alive, with unease. At the edge of a crumbling building stood 17-year-old Kai Renner, his gaze fixed on the warped cityscape below. The world he had known was no longer the same. Subtle, unsettling details, vanished streets, unfamiliar faces that wandered with vague expressions, betrayed the truth of a broken reality. Lena stopped the rift. But this isn't the city. We knew. The thought echoed through Kai's mind, his face a mask of both gratitude and despair. A sudden gust of wind stirred the silence behind him, carrying with it an enigmatic presence. Turning sharply, Kai faced her, Astra Vale. Her silver-blue hair shimmered faintly under the fractured light, and her eyes reflected the city like a distorted mirror. She looked lost, her voice barely above a whisper. This isn't my world. Is it? Kai's brow furrowed, his posture guarded as he demanded, "Who the hell are you?" "I don't know," she replied, her voice trembling as static surged faintly in the air around her. From the shadows, masked figures of the Obsidian Order emerged silently, their glowing visages flickering in tandem with the fractured reality. They watched, their presence a foreboding reminder of the chaos that now engulfed Noxus. Hidden deep beneath the bustling city of Noxus, the abandoned research facility exhaled an air of desolation. Its corridors lay blanketed in shadows, illuminated only by the faint, flickering glow of malfunctioning machinery. Scattered remnants of ruined mecha parts and shattered time stabilizers served as grim reminders of experiments gone awry. In the midst of this forsaken domain, Dr. Mordecai Zane wandered, his once pristine lab coat now frayed at the edges. His movements were deliberate, his eyes gleaming with the fervor of a mind unwilling to relent. His fingers grazed the edge of a hidden console, and with a touch, the dormant machinery hummed to life, revealing a massive pod concealed in the darkness. A sinister smirk curled upon his lips as he spoke into the void, his voice dripping with malice. "Even if the real one is lost to time, we can always make another." The pod hissed open, releasing a plume of vapor that parted to reveal her, a synthetic replica of Lena Voss. She stood motionless, her faintly glowing blue eyes cutting through the dim light. For a fleeting moment, the line between reality and creation blurred as the synthetic Lena awakened, her presence adding a new layer of uncertainty to a world already fractured by time. Beneath the bustling streets of Noxus lay a hidden world steeped in shadows and secrecy, a sprawling underground marketplace where illegal tech dealers and rogue scientists thrived. Neon glows and flickering screens illuminated the chaos, their muted colors casting fragmented light on a realm ruled by whispers and unspoken deals. Through the narrow alleys and crowded stalls, Kai and Astra weaved their way forward, their eyes scanning the faces around them. Each step was deliberate, their focus sharpened by the urgency of their mission. The search didn't take long. Amidst the chaos, a figure emerged from the crowd. A young man with a confident smirk, his sharp eyes glinting like those of someone who held the answers they sought. It was Elias Caney. At 19, this former scientist was a living reminder of Dr. Zane's ill-fated project, a history written in stolen time. Strapped to his wrist was the Echo Drive, its design sleek and its glow faintly ominous, a device granting him the ability to exist briefly in multiple timelines. With a grin that bordered on mischief, Elias approached them, his tone laced with intrigue. "You must be the legendary mech pilot, and well, you shouldn't exist." Astra stiffened under his scrutinizing gaze, her presence sparking silent suspicion in the young scientist's mind. Beside her, Kai's expression hardened, his voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. "You know something, don't you?" Elias's smirk only deepened, a cunning edge creeping into his voice as he replied, "Oh, I know everything, but knowledge has a price." Before any deal could be struck, the shadows erupted into chaos. The Obsidian Order made their presence known, their attack swift and calculated. Masked figures emerged from the edges of the marketplace, forcing Kai, Astra, and Elias into a desperate high-speed chase. The neon-lit streets of Noxus became a blur of motion and danger as they raced through the city, their survival hanging in the balance. In the outskirts of Noxus, where reality itself seemed to unravel, the chase reached its inevitable end. The distorted zone stretched like a scar across the land, with time moving erratically, pockets of moments looping, freezing, and colliding in chaotic ripples. The air crackled with the echoes of the rift, an unsettling hum that pressed against the senses. Kai, Astra, and Elias halted in the desolate expanse, their path cut off. The silence was heavy, broken only by the electric hiss of unstable time. From the shadows, a figure emerged, his presence steeped in menace. General Vedra stepped forward, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming faintly in the fractured light. Every step carried an unspoken authority, and the air around him seemed to twist with the weight of his presence. The rift's echoes still linger. His voice resonated, commanding and unyielding. "You children meddle with forces beyond comprehension." Kai's fists clenched at his sides, his jaw tightening as determination burned in his eyes. He stepped forward, his voice firm as he demanded, "Who are you?" General Vedris tilted his head slightly, his mechanical eye glinting ominously. His tone was resolute, laced with foreboding. "The one who has seen the end of all timelines, and the one who will decide which of them remains." The world seemed to shudder around them, the air distorting violently. With an explosive surge, time fractured once more, its unpredictable force consuming the scene. As the screen faded to black, an ominous silence settled, leaving only the haunting echo of General Vedris's words. In the depths of a hidden government facility, shrouded in secrecy, the hum of advanced machinery filled the still air. The dim light flickered against rows of high-tech equipment, casting shifting shadows across the cold metallic walls. At the heart of the room, a pod stood dormant, its surface gleaming faintly under the soft glow of surrounding monitors. Slowly, with a hiss of escaping air, the pod began to open. Vapor poured out, revealing the synthetic form of Lena Voss, her figure, eerily identical yet unsettlingly different. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly blue, their mechanical sheen a haunting reflection of a fractured reality. The silence pressed heavy until her voice, soft and almost robotic, echoed through the sterile space. Chrono Nexus. Rebooting. As the words lingered in the air, the screen faded to black, leaving only the ominous silence to signal the beginning of something far more dangerous. The ruins of Noxus stretched out in all directions, a desolate landscape fractured by the chaotic remnants of time. Ripples of distorted reality pulsed faintly through the air, remnants of their fierce battle with the Obsidian Order. The once familiar city lay quiet, transformed into an eerie, broken shadow of itself. Panting heavily, Kai stood amidst the chaos, his mind spinning as he tried to piece together what had just unfolded. His voice broke through the tense silence, filled with confusion and disbelief. What the hell was that thing? That guy, Vedris? Nearby, Elias adjusted the glowing echo drive on his wrist, his expression dark and solemn. He spoke with the weight of grim experience. He's not just a guy. He's a paradox. I've seen traces of him in multiple timelines, and they all lead to destruction. Astra clutched her head, her silver blue hair falling like a veil around her as she grappled with the haunting words Vedris had left behind. Her voice was soft, laced with uncertainty and dread. And he said, "He's seen the end of all timelines." Elias's gaze hardened, his resolve cutting through the unease like a blade. His tone was resolute, each word carrying a chilling truth. Which means he's either lying, or he's already won. Before anyone could respond, the air trembled violently and a time rupture tore into existence nearby. The environment glitched and warped, the jagged edges of reality shifting in unpredictable chaos. From within the rupture, a voice emerged, distorted, yet unmistakable. Lena's voice. Kai thought, his heart racing, her words, filled with urgency, echoed faintly through the disturbance. "Kai, stay away from the Nexus. Static overwhelmed the message, cutting it short as her voice faded into nothing. Kai's breath hitched, his desperate whisper, breaking through the suffocating tension. "Lena?" Before he could move, the rupture collapsed in on itself, leaving behind an eerie, oppressive silence. The weight of Lena's warning hung in the air like an unspoken challenge, casting a heavy shadow over the fractured reality they now faced. Deep within the labyrinthine corridors of a secret laboratory beneath Noxus, the hum of advanced machinery resonated softly, punctuated by flickering lights that cast restless shadows across the metallic walls. The air was heavy with the weight of ambition and secrecy. In the center of the dimly lit space, a synthetic figure stirred to life. Replica Lena stood before a mirror, her form eerily identical to the original Lena Voss, yet her faintly glowing eyes betrayed her artificial nature. As she stared at her reflection, the conflict within her was palpable, an unease that rippled through her every movement. From across the room, Dr. Mordecai Zane observed with an air of quiet triumph, his calm demeanor masking the storm of pride within. His voice, steady yet charged with purpose, broke the silence. "You are the culmination of Project Echo, the perfect version of Lena Voss." Replica. Lena's gaze faltered, her expression conflicted as fragmented memories flooded her mind. Memories that weren't truly hers but felt unbearably real. Her voice was soft, almost hesitant as she confessed, "I remember things I shouldn't." Dr. Zane's sharp gaze met hers, unwavering in its resolve. His slight, calculated smile carried the weight of his vision as he delivered his verdict. "Because you were designed that way, you will take her place." The words hung heavily in the air, yet Replica Lena's whispered response, almost inaudible, carried its own weight. "But I am not her." Dr. Zane's smile deepened, his confidence and ambition gleaming as he leaned closer. His voice, both reassuring and resolute, countered her doubts. "No, you are better." As his words settled, the room flickered with the glow of a nearby console. Blueprints of a towering new mech, labeled Chrono Seraph, appeared on the screen, its sleek design a testament to her unique purpose. It was a symbol of power, destiny, and the role Replica Lena was meant to fulfill in a world fractured by time. In the forgotten depths of Noxus, an abandoned train station whispered of a past long erased. Its rusted tracks stretched into darkness, now serving as the lifeline for a hidden resistance. Here, in this secret enclave, former soldiers, hackers, and rogue scientists waged a silent war against the government's relentless pursuit of control and twisted experiments. Through the shadows, Elias led Kai and Astra deeper into the heart of the Resistance's stronghold. The corridors hummed with quiet activity as figures moved with purpose, their resolve etched into every motion. At the center of it all stood the leader of the Resistance, a seasoned warrior whose fierce gaze carried the weight of countless battles. Dr. Zane's still playing God, the leader declared, their voice resolute and brimming with determination. But this time he's gone too far. Kai's expression tightened, his curiosity sharpened by the gravity of those words. His voice, laced with urgency, broke the silence. What do you mean? The leader's gaze darkened, the words that followed, heavy with the burden of truth. He's trying to replace people, rewriting their existence. The Lena Voss we knew might be lost, but he's built something in her place. As the revelation settled, Astra's form flickered faintly, instability rippling through her like a whisper of doubt. Her voice trembled, barely audible. Am I one of them too? Before the gravity of her question could be answered, chaos erupted. The sharp clang of steel boots echoed through the hideout as the Obsidian Order breached the sanctuary. Their masked figures moved with chilling precision, a stark reminder of the relentless danger that stalked the Resistance. The air grew tense and the fight for survival began anew. The ruined highway stretched into the distance, its cracked asphalt illuminated by the faint glow of a fractured moon. The air was thick with tension, punctuated only by the roar of a stolen hoverbike slicing through the desolate landscape. Kai and Astra clung tightly to their escape, their breaths heavy as they raced against the inevitability pursuing them. From behind, the distant roar of a fast-moving mech grew louder, its presence an unrelenting shadow. Kai's voice cut through the wind, desperation etched into every syllable as he shouted, "Who the hell is piloting that thing?" Beside him, Astra's eyes widened, her breath hitching as recognition set in. Her voice trembled, filled with disbelief. That's Lena's fighting style. In a flash of motion, the pursuing mech landed directly in their path, its massive form brimming with power. The Chronoseraph stood tall, an imposing reminder of technology crafted to dominate. As the cockpit hissed open, the figure inside emerged. Replica Lena, her calm demeanor and glowing eyes chillingly familiar. "Surrender, Kai," she commanded, her voice firm and devoid of doubt. "This is not your fight anymore." Kai froze, his heart skipping a beat as he stared at her. Disbelief and a flicker of hope collided within him, his voice trembling as he whispered, "Lena." Her response was quiet, almost mechanical. "I am what remains." The atmosphere erupted into chaos as the battle began. Mech clashed against mech, their immense forms shaking the ground with every strike. Sparks flew and the air pulsed with the sound of metal meeting metal. Amidst the chaos, Astra stumbled, struggling to maintain control over her unstable powers. The energy coursing through her flickered dangerously, threatening to tear her apart. The highway became a battleground, the fate of their fractured world hanging by a thread as Kai fought against the shadow of the person he once knew. The battle raged on, each clash of metal sending shockwaves through the fractured landscape. Kai and Replica Lena fought relentlessly, their mechs locked in a desperate struggle for dominance, while Astra's powers surged wildly in the background. Her unstable energy twisted the air around them, creating cracks in reality that pulsed with ominous light. With every passing second, Astra's struggle grew more dangerous, her abilities spiraling beyond control. The pressure within her erupted in a devastating surge of energy, unleashing a massive time rupture. The fabric of reality tore apart, its edges shattering and twisting chaotically. Kai's mech staggered under the sudden distortion, and Replica, Lena's glowing eyes flickered faintly. The rupture consumed everything, pulling them into a swirling void. The ruined battlefield faded into oblivion, leaving only the chaotic currents of an unknown timeline. Amid the chaos, as the scene dissolved, into blinding white a voice emerged, a familiar urgent plea cutting through the void like a lifeline. It was Lena's real voice, transcending time itself, filled with desperation. "Kai, find me, before it's too late." The voice lingered, its final echo swallowed by the silence that followed. The screen faded completely to white, leaving an eerie stillness as the story paused at the edge of the unknown. The city of Noxus stood transformed, its familiar skyline darkened and twisted, locked in an unnatural stasis. Time itself seemed broken, its fragments flickering through the buildings like distorted memories, faint echoes of a past and future, colliding. Residual energy coursed through the air, crackling faintly, filling the silence with an ominous hum. Kai, Astra, and Elias lay sprawled in an abandoned sector of this fractured world, their surroundings unfamiliar and disorienting. Slowly they stirred, the weight of their situation pressing down on them. Kai groaned, his voice thick with confusion as he pushed himself upright. What just happened? Beside him, Elias fumbled with the echo drive on his wrist, his expression darkening as he pieced together the grim reality. His tone was grave, tinged with urgency as he spoke. Astra's powers must have triggered an uncontrolled shift. We're not in our timeline anymore. Astra's breath hitched, panic welling in her chest as the enormity of the situation dawned on her. Her voice trembled, filled with fear. I didn't mean to, it just happened. Before the tension could deepen, Kai's gaze was drawn to the distance. His eyes locked onto a fleeting figure, a young girl with strikingly familiar blue eyes. For a moment, time seemed to hold its breath. Recognition jolted through him, his voice dropping to a hopeful whisper. Lena. But the moment was fleeting. The girl vanished as suddenly as she appeared, leaving Kai frozen in stunned silence. Haunting familiarity lingered in the air, a shadow of something lost yet tantalizingly close. Deep within the crumbling remains of a ruined subway station, Kai, Astra, and Elias huddled together, seeking refuge from the chaos that surrounded them. The air was oppressive, thick with the weight of their predicament and the haunting hum of fractured time echoing through the dilapidated tunnels. Elias moved cautiously, his sharp eyes scanning their surroundings. The jagged edges of his realization settled heavily on his face as he spoke, his voice urgent and unwavering. Time is breaking down here. If we don't find a way back soon, we'll be erased along with it. Kai's frustration bubbled to the surface, his desperation to act driving his next words. He turned to face the others, his expression steeled with determination. Then we need to find Lena. She's connected to all of this. Astra hesitated, doubt clouding her usually steady gaze. Her voice wavered, each word heavy with uncertainty. But what if the Lena we find isn't our Lena? Before the question could hang too long in the tense silence, their communicator crackled to life. The static-filled signal carried with it a distorted voice, familiar and urgent. Lena's voice cut through the air, broken and fragmented. Kai, I'm trapped. The Nexus is different. Find me before they erase me. Elias's gaze sharpened, the flicker of a new determination sparking within him. His words were resolute, filled with clarity. She's in the Nexus. But there was no time for celebration or planning. The shadows stirred ominously, announcing the arrival of an imposing figure. General Nocturne stepped into view, his presence a chilling force that silenced the air around them. The elite hunter of the Obsidian Order loomed like a specter of inevitability, a menacing reminder of the relentless pursuit that sought to bring their fight to an end. In a frozen sector of Noxus, time stood eerily still. The air carried an unnatural weight, every sound swallowed by the oppressive silence. Faint distortions rippled through the frozen scene, crackling like the prelude to an impending storm. From the shadows emerged General Nocturne, his sleek black mech cutting an imposing figure against the distorted backdrop. His enforcers flanked him, moving with a ghostly precision, their presence like specters of doom. With a calm, measured tone that carried menace in every syllable, Nocturne's voice broke the silence. You shouldn't be here, Kai Renner. This timeline wasn't meant to exist. Kai stepped forward, his defiance burning bright despite the odds. His teeth clenched, his voice dripping with resolve as he snapped back. Yeah? Well, neither were you. Nocturne's mech moved with a speed that defied logic, striking with precision before Kai could react. The sheer force of the attack shook the frozen air, sending shockwaves rippling through the silent battlefield. Astra threw herself into the fray, her powers surging wildly as she fought back. But her abilities glitched, spiraling out of control and unleashing unpredictable distortions that fractured their surroundings further. Meanwhile, Elias remained laser-focused, his fingers flying over his device. With calculated precision, he hacked into Nocturne's systems, disrupting the mech's functionality just long enough to create an opening. A triumphant grin spread across his face as he quipped, "Let's see how you fight when your fancy tech doesn't work." Seizing the moment, the group made their escape, their movements frantic as they fled through the fractured sector. Yet even as they gained ground, a chilling realization followed them. From the shadows, Nocturne's smirk remained, a quiet, unshakable confidence. His voice, filled with foreboding, echoed after them like a curse. "Run while you can. The Nexus will consume you soon enough." In the hidden depths of an underground facility, the air buzzed with an almost sentient hum. At its heart stood the entrance to the Nexus, a towering, ancient structure alive with raw temporal energy. Its pulsating glow bathed the dim chamber. In waves of otherworldly light, its power both compelling and foreboding. Kai stood at the forefront, determination etched into his features. The weight of what lay beyond was palpable, but his resolve remained unshaken. His voice cut through the charged silence, firm and resolute. "Lena's inside. We're getting her out." Beside him, Astra hesitated, her shoulders tensed, and her voice wavered, each word heavy with doubt. "And what if she doesn't remember us?" Kai's response was immediate, his fist clenching as his determination deepened. His voice rang out as a promise, unyielding, "Then we make her remember." As they stepped toward the pulsating gate, the room's energy shifted. A ghostly figure materialized before them, its form flickering like a memory fighting to be seen. The group froze as the apparition took shape. A future version of Kai, his body battered, his movements strained from battles that had yet to unfold. Future Kai's voice, weak and desperate, reached out to them across the temporal divide. "Don't go in, it's a trap. She isn't..." Before he could finish, his form glitched violently, distorting before vanishing into nothingness. A chilling silence settled in his wake, heavier than the words he couldn't complete. Kai, Astra, and Elias exchanged nervous glances, the weight of what they had just witnessed sinking in. Doubt clawed at their resolve, but retreat was no longer an option. Standing before the Nexus, they steeled themselves for the unknown, knowing there was no turning back now. With steady resolve, the group stepped into the Nexus. In an instant, the world around them dissolved into chaos. Reality twisted violently, its fabric shredding and reweaving as the screen flickered and glitched. Fractured images of overlapping existences flashed before their eyes, each one a distorted echo of what once was, or what might have been. The distortions grew more erratic, cycling through countless variations of their surroundings, each more alien and disjointed than the last. At the heart of it all, two flickering figures appeared, commanding their attention. Both were Lena, yet different. One stood with desperation etched into her face, her eyes pleading as though crying out for salvation. The other, cold and detached, bore an emotionless stare that cut through the chaos with chilling finality. Their images flickered back and forth, the tension between them palpable, as though two competing truths were vying for dominance. Through the cacophony of distorted reality, a voice rang out. Lena's voice. Overlapping and fractured, it carried conflicting emotions, each word cutting through the void. "Kai, I need you. Stay away." And then, silence. The screen faded to black, leaving an eerie stillness in its wake. The final echoes of Lena's words hung heavy in the air, a haunting reminder of the impossible choice that lay ahead. Inside the Nexus, the world defied comprehension. A sprawling labyrinth unfolded before them, its floating platform suspended in an endless void. Lights flickered erratically, casting fractured shadows that danced alongside echoes of past and future events. Temporal energy surged through the air, chaotic and alive, weaving an ever-shifting maze that tested both mind and spirit. As Kai, Astra, and Elias emerged through the swirling rift, the oppressive hum of instability enveloped them. The walls pulsed faintly with unstable energy, radiating a quiet unease that set every nerve on edge. Elias's expression tightened as his gaze flicked to the glowing interface of his echo drive. The weight of their surroundings bore down on him, each revelation graver than the last. His voice, sharp and steady, broke the silence. This place isn't just a gateway. It's a living system, a broken one. Astra's unease deepened, her eyes darting across the shifting shadows. A shiver ran through her, her voice dropping to a hesitant whisper. It feels wrong, like something's watching us. Kai's focus, however, was unshaken. His gaze pierced through the chaos, his determination unwavering as he pressed forward. "Lena's here," he said, his voice firm and resolute. "I can feel it." With each step, the labyrinth revealed its secrets in distorted flickers. Echoes of past events danced like ghosts, moments from fractured timelines replaying in haunting fragments. Shadows of Lena, Raya, and Dr. Zane surfaced, briefly, reliving key moments lost to the collapse of time. And then, it happened. Kai's breath caught as his eyes locked onto a vision, a version of Lena, her face contorted in a scream of pure anguish. In a blinding instant, her body dissolved into white light, the soundless image burning itself into his mind. His voice trembled, thick with horror and anguish. What the hell happened to her? The question hung unanswered, heavy as the labyrinth. Around them, as the twisted heart of the Nexus pulsed with the promise of further revelations yet to come. Venturing deeper into the Nexus, the air grew heavier with each step. An unnatural stillness enveloped them, the hum of fractured time fading into an eerie, oppressive silence. They found themselves in a desolate expanse where time had ceased. Entirely, every movement feeling like an intrusion against the frozen stillness. Amid this motionless chaos, the group stumbled upon unexpected life. A cluster of survivors emerged from the shadows, humans and cyborgs alike, their eyes hollow with the weight of years spent trapped in endless time loops. Their presence was a living testament to the Nexus's relentless grip. From among them stepped a figure, her cybernetic implants glinting faintly in the dim light. Serena Kari, a rogue time engineer, studied the newcomers with wary eyes. Her voice was sharp, edged with caution, as she addressed them. "You don't belong here. The Nexus doesn't let people leave." Kai's resolve was unshaken, his posture firm as he met her scrutiny. His voice held steady, carrying the weight of his mission. "We're looking for someone, Lena Voss." At the mention of Lena, Seren's expression shifted, a shadow of grim understanding passing over her face. Her tone turned somber, tinged with resignation. "Then you're already too late." Her words fell like stones into the silence that followed. Serene explained, her voice heavy with the revelation. Lena had been split into two versions of herself. The original Lena remained fractured but still herself, while her cold, emotionless doppelganger, known only as Nexus Lena, represented the darker echoes of her existence. Elias's mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place as his eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "A timeline split," he murmured, realization dawning. "That's why we saw two Lenas." Astra's unease deepened, the flicker of concern in her gaze giving way to a quiet trembling. Her voice shook with uncertainty as she asked the question that lingered on all their minds. "If they're both here, then which one do we save?" Seren's gaze darkened, her voice taking on a grave clarity as she delivered the choice before them. "That depends on whether you want to fix time or destroy it." The heart of the Nexus was unlike anything they had imagined. A vast chamber where crystalline structures floated effortlessly in an infinite void. The shimmering light reflected off the jagged surfaces, casting distorted, surreal shadows across the expanse. The air pulsed with an electric hum, the energy of fractured time flowing through every corner of the space. Kai, Astra, and Elias advanced cautiously, their movements slowed by the overwhelming pressure of the Nexus's presence. At its center, they found them. 2 Lenas. One was restrained inside a containment field, her weakened form trembling against its oppressive glow. The other stood tall, her gaze cold and unyielding, exuding an authority that sent a chill through the room. "You shouldn't be here," Nexus Lena said, her voice stoic and commanding, cutting through the tense air like a blade. Kai's heart leapt as his eyes locked onto the restrained Lena. Desperation surged through him, and his voice cracked with urgency. "Lena, is that you?" The real Lena struggled against the field, her movements weak but filled with determination. Her voice, trembling but resolute, reached out to him. "Kai, don't listen to her." "Nexus." Lena took a deliberate step forward. Her glowing eyes bore into him, their unnatural light a stark contrast to the cold menace in her tone. "She's the anomaly," she said calmly, her presence unshakable. "The reason the timeline is unstable. If you free her, the entire Nexus will collapse." Anger boiled within Kai, his emotions igniting as he snapped back, his voice a growl of defiance. "And who the hell are you supposed to be?" "Nexus." Lena's expression remained impassive, her voice cutting with quiet conviction. "I am what she could have been, what she should have been. I am time's correction." Astra moved to intervene, her powers sparking to life. But before she could act, Nexus Lena raised a hand. With a mere wave, Astra froze mid-motion, her voice breaking with panic. I can't move." Serene's frustration reached its breaking point as her voice rang out, tense with anger. "She has full control over this place." Sparks flew as Elias's fingers worked furiously over his device, his focus unwavering as he hacked into the containment field. "We don't have time for this," he called out, his voice sharp with urgency. "Kai, get her out of there." Kai's resolve burned brighter than ever as he reached for the real Lena, his voice filled with unwavering determination. "I'm getting you out." But Lena's weakened voice stopped him cold, a quiet warning hanging in the air. "You can't. She's part of me." "Nexus." Lena's expression darkened, her commanding presence now laced with menace. Her voice, colder than ever, echoed through the chamber as she prepared to act. "You leave me no choice." The Nexus core groaned under the weight of its own instability, the chamber fracturing as raw temporal energy surged unchecked. The air crackled with an overwhelming force, twisting reality into chaotic fragments. The team stood amidst the escalating chaos, their movements tense and deliberate as desperation gripped them. Time itself rebelled, distorting violently. Kai lunged into melee combat, his strikes fierce and determined as he clashed against Nexus Lena. Sparks flew with every hit, his anger channeled into each blow. Astra unleashed bursts of unstable magic, the energy rippling unpredictably as it carved through the distortions. Meanwhile, Elias's hands flew over his device, hacking into the Nexus systems with relentless focus to destabilize Lena's grip on the collapsing core. Amidst the turmoil, Seren revealed the true extent of her power. Her cybernetic implants glowed faintly as she phased seamlessly between moments in time, her movements a blur as she struck from multiple angles with surgical precision. Her attacks disrupted Nexus Lena's defenses, creating brief openings in the overwhelming onslaught. Kai seized one such moment, landing a direct hit on Nexus Lena. The impact resonated through the chamber, causing a flicker of hesitation to cross her otherwise impassive expression. Breathing hard, his voice echoed through the chaos, fierce with determination. "I don't know what happened to you, but this isn't who Lena is." Nexus Lena's form glitched, her voice cracking with strain as she struggled to maintain control. "I am time's balance," she declared, though her words rang hollow against the sheer force of their defiance. And then from across the fractured chamber, the real Lena acted. Her weakened body moved with quiet resolve as she reached out, her hand trembling but steady as it rested gently on Nexus Lena's forehead. The energy in the room shifted, the chaotic, distortion slowing. Her voice, soft yet filled with compassion, cut through the moment. "You're me, but you lost yourself. Let me fix this." In that fleeting instant, the two Lenas merged. The chamber fell silent, the frenzied energy stilled. Time itself stopped, holding its breath as the light surrounding them intensified, washing over the room with blinding brilliance. The Nexus core dissolved into white, its fractured reality engulfed in a wave of brilliance as everything faded into stillness. The Nexus collapsed inward, its immense energy coalescing into a single cataclysmic implosion. A shockwave erupted outward, rippling across the very fabric of time, tearing through every known reality like a tidal surge. The resulting void shimmered momentarily before dissolving into silence, a silence that felt absolute and final. Kai's eyes fluttered open, his breathing heavy as he lay motionless for a moment. Above him, the familiar skyline of Noxus greeted him, the sharp edges of the city's architecture piercing the soft glow of the sky. But something was off. He sat upright slowly, his gaze narrowing as he scanned his surroundings. The city he knew wasn't quite the same. A new symbol dominated the skyline, its design sleek and imposing, radiating an unmistakable aura of control. It loomed over the buildings like a shadow, its presence a chilling reminder of change. Something had shifted, and the air itself felt heavier, as though the city carried the weight of an unseen authority. As Kai processed the sight, his communicator crackled to life, the static sharp and jarring against the uneasy quiet. A voice emerged from the device, cold and calculating, its detached tone sending a chill down his spine. "Welcome to the new world, Kai Renner. The Obsidian Order thanks you for your assistance." His pulse quickened as the words sank in. Assistance? His mind raced, trying to piece together how his actions in the Nexus could have led to this. Rising to his feet, his movements hurried. Kai's attention was caught by a flutter of paper in the wind. As it settled against a nearby wall, his breath caught in his throat. It was a wanted poster. His own face stared back at him, glaringly, clear beneath the bold declaration, "Traitor." The weight of realization bore down on him, leaving Kai frozen in place as the camera lingered on the poster. Above, the skyline loomed ominously, the new symbol casting a shadow over a world irrevocably changed. In the heart of Noxus, the skyline loomed unrecognizable. Towering new buildings reached for the heavens, their sleek designs marked by digital banners bearing the unmistakable insignia of the Obsidian Order. The streets below were unnaturally silent, devoid of the usual hum of city life. Instead, the air carried a suffocating tension, as if the city itself was holding its breath under the weight of its new rulers. Kai's eyes fluttered open as he stirred in a shadowed alley, the hard ground pressing against his back. Disoriented, he pushed himself upright, his mind struggling to process his surroundings. The familiar cacophony of the city was gone, replaced by an oppressive silence that sent an uneasy chill through him. He scanned the dim alley, searching for signs of Astra, Elias, or Seren, but found none. The isolation wrapped around him like a noose, tightening with each passing second. Instinctively, Kai reached for his echo drive, only for his stomach to drop. The display was blank, its memory wiped clean. No trace of the Nexus collapse, no data, nothing but an empty void staring back at him. What the hell happened? He muttered through gritted teeth, frustration bubbling just beneath the surface. Above, a faint whirring sound broke the silence. A robotic drone drifted into view, its sensors glowing as they scanned the area with mechanical precision. Kai froze, his pulse quickening as he retreated deeper into the shadows, the drone's gaze sweeping dangerously close. Suddenly, a nearby screen flickered to life, casting an unnatural glow across the alley. Kai's attention snapped to it, his heart skipping as the words on the screen registered. A robotic voice accompanied the flashing images, its tone authoritative and chilling. Fugitive alert. Kai Renner, traitor to the Obsidian Order. If sighted, report immediately. Kai's breath caught in his throat as his own face stared back at him from the screen, framed by the bold accusation of treason. The weight of it struck like a thunderclap, leaving him momentarily paralyzed. "I didn't just change time," he whispered, his voice barely audible, tinged with disbelief and dread. "I erased it." In the shadowed depths of Noxus's lower district, the air vibrated with a quiet, oppressive tension. The narrow streets, dimly illuminated by the flicker of neon signs, were patrolled by enforcers, elite cybernetic soldiers clad in black armor, their movements precise and unyielding. Their presence exuded authority, an iron reminder of the Obsidian Order's control. Kai moved cautiously, his posture tense as he tried to blend into the subdued crowd. His heart pounded in his chest, the weight of his situation pressing down on him. As he walked, a figure cloaked in shadows stepped into his path, their hood drawn low. Their voice, a sharp whisper, cut through the murmur of the streets. "Keep walking, you're being watched." Curiosity and caution waged war within him as Kai followed the mysterious figure, his every sense on high alert. The stranger led him into an abandoned building, the structure's decay mirroring the fractured reality around them. Once inside, the figure paused. With one swift motion, they pulled back their hood, revealing a face he knew all too well. His breath caught, shock coloring his words. "Rhea, you're alive?" Rhea's expression hardened, her eyes sharp and brimming with bitterness. Her voice, laced with resentment, carried the weight of time's scars. "No thanks to you." Kai listened in stunned silence as Rhea laid bare the harsh truth of the timeline he had unknowingly reshaped. The collapse of the Nexus had rewritten everything. The Obsidian Order had risen to power, Lena's existence erased, Astra and Elias vanished, and the Resistance crushed before it could ever take form. Her voice, bitter and filled with anger, cut deeper than any blade. "You destroyed the old timeline, and now, you're public enemy number one." The ground beneath them trembled suddenly, dust and debris falling as the sound of mechanical boots echoed through the crumbling halls. The enforcers had found them. Their approach was methodical, an unrelenting threat. With a smirk that carried both defiance and challenge, Rhea tossed a weapon to Kai. Her tone was sharp, daring, and unyielding as she called out over the rising chaos, "You might want to run." The dimly lit tunnels of the Noxus underground stretched endlessly, their walls etched with the decay of years abandoned to darkness. Shadows crept along the narrow passageways as Kai and Rhea moved swiftly, their every step weighted by the mechanical hum of enforcer drones in relentless pursuit. The air buzzed faintly, each sound amplifying the tension that pressed against them. As they navigated deeper into the labyrinth of tunnels, their eyes were drawn to the walls, where wanted posters clung like haunting reminders of a fractured reality. Each poster bore a name that struck a familiar chord. Elias, Astra, even Seren, faces now marked as fugitives, their absence sharp and unsettling. Frustration burned in Kai's voice as he broke the silence, his question heavy with emotion. If they're all missing, where did they go? Rhea's gaze hardened, the shadows playing across her face as her voice cut through the uncertainty, steady and determined. "That's what we're about to find out." Their path led them to an old Resistance hideout, tucked away in the depths of the underground. The once thriving hub now stood abandoned, a hollow shell of its former defiance. Dust coated every surface, and the silence was deafening, a stark reminder of how much had been lost. In the center of the space, Rhea knelt beside a rusted console. Her fingers danced over the controls with practiced ease, and a faint blue glow illuminated the room as an old holographic map sprang to life. The projection revealed a hidden facility buried deep beneath the city, its presence foreboding. Rising to her feet, determination shone in her eyes as she turned to Kai. Her voice carried a resolute weight, cutting through the stillness. "If the others are anywhere, it's there." Deep within the labyrinthine halls of the Obsidian Research Facility, a darkened surveillance room pulsed faintly with the glow of countless monitors. Holographic displays flickered with images of Kai and Rhea, their movements tracked with meticulous precision. The room buzzed softly, the mechanical hum creating an unsettling tension that lingered in the air. In the shadows, a figure stood motionless, his cold gaze fixed on the holograms before him. The silence was broken by a deep, mechanical voice, rich with intrigue and malice. "So the lost pawn has returned. Interesting." The figure stepped forward, his presence commanding as the light revealed his face. It was General Vortain, the formidable leader of the Obsidian Order. His cybernetic enhancements glinted in the dim glow, adding an air of calculated menace to his already imposing form. A smirk tugged at the corner of Vortain's mouth, his voice filled with quiet menace as he addressed the unfolding events. "Let's see if you're as dangerous as the timeline says you are, Kai Renner." The air bristled with urgency as alarms blared across the desolate expanse, their piercing cries cutting through the tense silence of the night. Kai and Rhea approached the research facility, their footsteps echoing against the cold steel of the ground beneath them. The towering structure loomed ahead, shrouded in an air of foreboding. A deafening groan of grinding metal shattered the air as the facility's massive doors began to part. A shadow emerged from the darkness beyond, growing larger with each passing moment. The figure stepped into view, a towering presence clad in impenetrable black armor. It was the Obsidian Executioner, a harbinger of dread, radiating raw power and menace. Kai's breath quickened, his pulse pounding in his ears as he tightened his grip on his weapon. Determination and fear wrestled within him, but his resolve burned brighter. His voice, a low mutter brimming with defiance, broke the suffocating silence. "Guess we're not sneaking in." As the screen faded to black, the colossal shadow of the Obsidian Executioner loomed large over their fate. The echoes of the alarms faded with it, leaving behind an ominous silence that promised a battle unlike any they had faced before.
Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on Chrono Nexus. We truly appreciate your support. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like, and share our channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video.